Welcome everybody. I'm very glad that you could once again join in for the session. Today we're gonna see a very important component of R programming which will help us in doing many more big projects in terms of data forms or data structures. Till now we know which all are the primitive types and how to deal with the primitive types. Now we're going to take a look into the composite types or a vector type. In vector type, we're going to also learn how to perform the vector operations, and also we're going to learn how to perform scalar operations on the vector data. Stay tuned and enjoy this video. So let us see how do you create some sort of a group of variables as an object or something. So let me once again go ahead and define a variable which is called data. And inside that, I don't want it to store a single value. Rather, I wanted to store a couple of values, and which is called a collection. So how do you create a collection is something like this. Let me have some set of values, and then I'll be storing these 4 values inside my variable data. Now, if I wanted to create a similar type of variable called cData, which will probably store my string type values. So how do I gonna do that? I'm gonna say again a collection, and inside my regular double quotes, I'm gonna store all these values. Maybe 4 values at this point of time. Now, once these values are stored, I suppose to extract those values one after another and as a group. So if at all I wanted to do that, I wanted to say the complete data as the name of the variable. I'll be getting all my values. If I want only the first element, I'll be getting the first element by mentioning 1 in the bracket. And if I want the first 3 values, I'll say data 1:3, and this will give me the first 3 values. There are alternative ways to get or to exclude some values by adding a minus sign to that. That is as well possible. I can also selectively have the second or the fourth values, 20 and 40. That is as well possible. Now we can explore that at some point in time. Now let me create a vector here, and then let me see how this group of values or vectors actually works in. Right. So let me have once again a vector, and then I'm gonna create a name for those. So again, I'm taking another variable, data underscore vect. So this is gonna be my new vector, and inside that vector, I'm gonna have some similar values like 10, 20, 30, 40. And at the same time, I'm gonna create one more vector which will have only the names. So I'll call data underscore names as a variable, and then inside that I'm gonna have few couple of names. So I'm gonna have a first, I'm gonna have second, I'm gonna have third, and finally I'm gonna have fourth. Right. So let me have these 2 data get loaded. So my data is loaded now. Now, as a matter of fact, if I'm gonna say data underscore vect, I'll be getting the values printed. And if I say data underscore name, I'll be getting my names printed. Now what I want this name to be assigned to each of these values as a column. So let's figure out how do you do that. So I'm going to say names as my function, and then on which I wanted to assign the names, that's going to be my data underscore vector. And with what names I'll probably assign that, that's going to be my data underscore names. So let us go ahead and try to see how does that looks like. So my names have been assigned now. And this time, if at all, I'm going to execute or try to see what is inside data underscore vect, I'll see the column names are actually been assigned to that. Now, the primary advantage of doing that is, first thing, you get a meaningful representation of your data, and then you can retrieve the data instead of the numbers using these names. So the traditional method of retrieving the value is gonna be something like this, where this gives me 10. At the same time, now with the names assigned to that, I can also extract using this option by mentioning the name of the column. So that's a advantage for that. Let us move further and try to see when a vector is created, what all operations you can actually perform on that. So let's see. Now from here onwards, we'll see the details of the vector operation. So just for a denoting, I'm adding a command and I'm calling vector operations. And see. So I'll be creating two vectors here. The first vector gonna be with few values like 10, 20, and 30. And the second vector, what I'm gonna create is as dataset 2, which will have a slightly different values to that. Something like this. So first of all, let me get this data loaded. So now I have two vectors, dataset 1 and dataset 2, and each of them are equipped with 3 values, which are slightly different. Now, if at all I wanted to add these two vectors, what I'm gonna do? I can directly add these values, or I can assign the result into a third vector, which is called result, and I'm gonna say dataset 1 is equal to dataset plus dataset 2, which get assigned to result. And then if at all I'm gonna inquire what is there in my result, I'm gonna see the values are being added. So this is a straightforward arithmetic operation which can be done very easily. Similarly, I can also perform multiple operations. This is a vector to vector operation. I can perform a vector to scalar operation as well. For example, I can say result should contain the summary or the multiplication values for each element by 10 with dataset 1. So each and every element of dataset 1 supposed to get multiplied by 10. And let's inquire what is the result after the multiplication operation, and we can see each and every value, 10 multiplied by 10, 10 multiplied by 12, 10 multiplied by 30 got manipulated. Similarly, I can also perform other scalar operations. For example, I can reduce every value by a 5. And then this time, let us see what's going to be the result. So you can see now every value, 10 minus 5, 20 minus 5, 30 minus 5, and all my subtractions are being taken care of. I can perform addition operation, I can perform division operation at the same scale, at the same measure. Now, if at all I wanted to subtract one scalar from another scalar, but the second scalar is dynamic, not predefined. So how I gonna do that? I'm gonna say result should be equated by dataset minus, and I want the first value to be subtracted by 1, the second value should be subtracted by 2, and the third value supposed to be subtracted by 3. So that gives me the result as 10 minus 1, 9, 18, 20 minus 2, 18, and 30 minus 3, 27. So I can as well perform those operations. I can also go ahead and verify some logical operations here that I can directly compare element by element, as I can also say result should be storing the value in case dataset 1 is less than dataset 2. So let's see what I get out of that. So now I'll be getting 3 true, because if at all I see the actual data set, all the elements from the first vector are actually less than the second vector. So this condition remains always true for all the elements. Now if at all I change the orientation, and if at all I try to verify my condition supposed to be true if all the values of dataset 1 are greater than dataset 2, in that case, I supposed to get all false, because all the values of the dataset 1 are actually less than dataset 2. So it's a element by element comparison. Once the vectors are created, I can also add a new element to the vectors. For instance, if I say dataset 1, and as a fourth position, which is empty right now, I'm going to add a new value called 40, then that is also possible. And now the new data set should be look alike like this with 4 elements. Now I can also selectively fetch all the data instead of all these 4 values. If at all I wish to only get the first element and the third element, I can also do that, where I supposed to say C of 1, and in the bracket once again I gonna write 1 comma 3. So this time I supposed to get only the first and the third element. Subsequently, if I want all the elements from 1 to 3 without any gaps, I supposed to say dataset 1, and I say 1:3 as explained earlier. Well guys, that brings us to the end of one more session with data analytics for starter. And we got to see a couple of good things today in the video. We got to see how to handle a scalar data type, how to update a scalar data type, how to perform multiple selection operations on the scalar types, vector types, perform operations from vector to vector or scalar with vector. And this learning gonna be very helpful in the upcoming sessions when we get to take a look into the bigger and more complex data structures like data frames and all. So this will presently actually replace what is an array in a regular programming language. I hope you enjoyed the session. Stay tuned, stay healthy, stay safe, and see you in the next video.